Righty then, the season is over. It is now in the history books, but we're still learning and we're still analysing and we're still finding out things and still exploring how Manchester United can improve, which we've got tons of videos coming out for. I'm going to be looking at, there's one coming out explaining why I love Sal Niguez and why I think he would be the perfect fit for Manchester United. I'm going to start profiling some of the young players as well. We're going to be looking at all of our transfer targets as well as going through the various different ways that Manchester United can improve and be a success. But to do that, you have to analyse and check out what we know about the manager. So what did we learn about Ole in the last year, in the last season, really? So in at number one, elite man manager. Now, I think there will be some question marks, criticisms, downright distrust of some of Ole's tactical nuance and some of his squad management and adjustability within games, use of substitutes, all of these things perfectly valid criticisms and maybe shortcomings of Solskjaer, but I don't think it can be disputed just how good of a man manager he is. And I think one of the main things to highlight this is how some of the players that were crushed under Mourinho have absolutely flourished. And even Fred, to be honest, Fred's improved. And even though he might not be the real deal, and he's certainly not improved to be now world class, he certainly improved enough to be trusted, which wasn't necessarily the case under Mourinho. Luke Shaw's resurgence, I think Luke Shaw needs to take some credit for that, but I also think a lot of the credit needs to go to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer himself, and Luke Shaw will put a lot of that credit, if you listen to some of the interviews that he's recently conducted, directly onto Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I think if you look at how he managed the Pogba situation. The Pogba situation could have been absolutely horrendous. Everyone's kind of forgot what Raiola came out and said, but Raiola was extremely strong in basically saying, I'm getting him out of the club. He's done. He's finished. We're gone. And even if that happens to be the case, which I think is an entirely plausible scenario for Paul Pogba in the summer, I think that on the basis of that all happening, there was no on-field fallout. There was no on-field repercussions for what happened. Now, under Sir Alex Ferguson, there would have been repercussions and issues because he didn't always deal with this sort of thing very well, and occasionally he might have got it settled eventually, but there was sometimes an issue when that cropped up. You just have to think about how Jose Mourinho would have acted in this circumstance, and we've seen how Jose Mourinho acted sometimes in this circumstance. Henrik Mkhitaryan told him to fuck off, supposedly, in a analysis session, was never seen again and was swapped for Alexis Sanchez. The way that this gets dealt with Solskjaer, I'm sure they had a meeting. Whatever was said, whatever was agreed. But the on-field management of the Paul Pogba situation, it didn't become a situation, and it didn't become the circus that I actually feared it was going to become in December when Raiola came out and said this. So you have to give credit for that. I also think you have to give credit for Greenwood's involvement. Less so this season, but there's still been man management masterclass this season. Last season, Greenwood's management into the first team was flawless. He contributed like nearly 20 goals, and he had the easiest transition from an academy player into a first team player that's ever been witnessed. He had his games hand selected, he had his minutes hand selected, and he was brought in and taken out and brought in and taken out and brought in and taken out. And all of those things sort of added up to what was an increasingly building upon performance, where at the end of it you go, Jesus Christ, it's some player that we've got here, isn't it? Now, this season, I think he's clearly had some off-the-field issues, but the fact that they've been ridden through, you haven't seen much of it in the press, and you now see a player on a massive upward trajectory. There was a little bit of a wobble with the situation that was so poorly handled by Gareth Southgate with Foden and with Greenwood when they were on international duty. And for starters, putting an 18-year-old kid at a press conference for starters is just like, it's completely against everything Sir Alex Ferguson would have stood for. So how Gareth Southgate thinks he's better than Sir Alex Ferguson and knows more about handling youngsters than Sir Alex Ferguson tells you everything you need to know about why Gareth Southgate's going to completely balls it up with England this summer. But I think that Solskjaer's management of Greenwood, to see him ride through what was rough on the field, rough off the field, and finish the season in some sensational form, I think is another bit of a credit for Solskjaer. We're also seeing all of the players seemingly on side. There's a great team spirit and camaraderie within the club. There doesn't seem to be the tons of leaks and tons of like sniping and snideness that's been evident in other regimes that we've had. It seems like he's got all the players on side. So man management, truly elite. Number 2, he is making progress. Despite not winning a trophy, I think it's clear to see that he's made progress this season and he is putting United into the right direction. I think we'd all love the trophy. This stat now of 4 years without a trophy is going to get completely flung up. You got to remember, Sir Alex Ferguson went 4 years. It's not been 4 years of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer without a trophy. So 4 years isn't great, and obviously football clubs exist to win trophies. He needs to start winning trophies, but he's also still making progress. Last season, we did finish third on 66 points. This year, we've increased that to 74. We've gone from an average of 1.74 points per game to now 1.95 points per game. We're also attacking a lot more efficiently. We're scoring more goals and we're creating more chances going forward. In all competitions, we scored 131 this season compared to 117 last season. Additionally, we are seeing the progress of individual players. In the first season, we saw, and I don't know what happened this season, we saw Anthony Martial score his best season. We saw Rashford score his best season. We saw Greenwood. Nearly 3 strikers contributing 60 goals was sensational stuff. And harking back almost, but clearly not, to the level of, Rooney, Tevez and Ronaldo with inferior players. So a lot of positives in there. You've seen the progression of the performances in Luke Shaw. You've seen Mason Greenwood. Marcus Rashford has developed. You're looking at Harry Maguire has developed outside of those first maybe 5 or 6 weeks of this season, and what we saw where his head was clearly still in Greece. There's been a hell of a lot of progression. He's also been nominated for Manager of the Season, which tells you that there's been some good done there clearly. There has been tangible progression. Yes, I would have liked to win a trophy, but, we have seen Manchester United win trophies and not finish in the top 4, and those managers get sacked. Louis van Gaal, for example. The progression has to be, unfortunately, at this football club, one that's linked to the financial rewards of being in the Champions League. If we'd have managed to pull it off with a better performance against Villarreal, you got to remember we were very close to winning that game. I think it would feel a hell of a lot different. And you can't just completely sack all of the work that the last 2 years has had on the back of one poor result. You have to stand in for what you believe, and you have to back the man that you think is right for the job. And I believe Ollie is the right man for the job. And the progress is tangible. He needs improvements now, and he needs the backing of the board. Number 3, the style of play myth. So a lot of talk going into the season was about the lack of an obvious style of play. And then those people who proclaim an obvious lack of an obvious style of play, you ask them to nail Sir Alex Ferguson's style of play, and they're all shoulders. And they'll say something about wingers and always attacking or scoring last-minute goals. It's not a style of play. It's a symptom of play. Now, a style of play is not necessarily not exclusively a formation. A style of play is the nature of your approaches and the sort of patterns that you try and recognise. Now, he doesn't have as recognisable patterns as Pep. He doesn't have as recognisable patterns as Jurgen Klopp. Doesn't have as recognisable patterns as Bielsa, perhaps. But there's still a style of play. You can't say there's no style of play. And United have actually been improving with it. Now, he's gone through various iterations of different formations. We've even seen 3 at the back be relatively successful for us. But he seems to like the 4-2-3-1. I think the 2 part of that is where United fall down. I think 1 genuinely good 6, and you could move into the 4-3-3, which is what I think this team is trying to become. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's style of play is predicated on quick transitional play, built on movement, on pace, on penetration, dynamic attacking rather than slow, methodical sort of build-up play. That's how he likes to enter into the final third. That's how he likes to watch Manchester United create chances and attack games. It's a style of play that fits the personality and the personnel in this group more so than it would be a system that you only select players for. Now, I hope with some of the transfers that he's bringing in, he's looking to advance and accentuate on top of that. But we will only find out once we see those players brought in. It doesn't seem like there's any sort of tactical Bible that he must adhere to, and because it tends to be fluid, it's very good reactionary, it's very good as a counter-attacking thing, and it's not terrible when it comes to just static build-up as well. I think we are poor when playing out, but I think he wants us to play out. So I think he will look to try and buy players or develop players that are better equipped for Manchester United to be dealing out, to be playing out. And I also think this is where that world-class number 6 is, because if you're trying to play out, you've got Fred, who's not exactly the most press-resistant defensive midfielder in the world. Him receiving the ball in and around the D, has he got the ability to turn and move the ball up the pitch every single time? No. He's going to get caught out. He's going to turn into trouble. His first touch is going to let him down. He's going to get pressed, and we're going to concede chances. So is that on Ole? Well, to some degree, yes, because you have to protect the weaknesses of your team. But it's also proof that we need to be improving the players that we've got, or signing better players that are better equipped to do what we're asking for them if Ole wants us to play out. It's very hard to have a civil conversation with people who just scream that there's no style of play. Especially when you consider that we're one of the most prolific and high-scoring sides across the whole of Europe, without anyone that anyone rates in our forward line. You know, from Bruno to Marcus to Mason Greenwood to Cavani to Tony Martial, everyone's shit if you listen to the internet. Yet here we are, one of the highest scoring sides in Europe. Number 4, he is a man of youth. Now, one thing that Ole has maintained that since joining is the ethos of giving Manchester United Academy graduates an opportunity, and his trust and belief in youth is evident. He hasn't necessarily been shy in giving the opportunities to youngsters, but also finding the balance between doing so and throwing them to the fire. He's handed out 16 Academy graduates during his tenure, which doesn't even include Amad Diallo, obviously because he's not an Academy product. I think he believes in youth, and he's displayed a notion that if you're good enough, you're old enough, and there is an opportunity for youngsters at Manchester United. We have seen him do this countless times. I think that some of the players perhaps aren't quite ready for it yet. Be very interesting to see what some of the players that have been out on loan, the likes of Ethan Laird and Jimmy Garner and possibly Dylan Levitt, who looks like he's now going to the Euros with Wales. Are those players going to be featuring in his plans? And if not, why not? Because they've gone out on loan or they're playing for their country and are absolutely tearing it up. So if they're not good enough for Manchester United, 1, why? And 2, well, where are they going to go? Because they've gone out and proved that they're good footballers. And I think that they need an opportunity at the club that they're coming through. And finally, he definitely has an edge. Now, Ole is happy-go-lucky, fairly laugh and jokeable in is that even a word, in press conferences, and I think because of that, a lot of the Ole out brigade seem to focus on those moments where he's probably got a nervous or awkward laugh at times when people want sincerity and solemnness and maybe him to be a little bit humble, but I don't understand why you would change who Ole is in press conferences. He's read the Sir Alex Ferguson manual of never criticise your players in public. He has experienced the never criticise your players in public from Sir Alex Ferguson when he was a player here. And he will have also experienced the wrath of Sir Alex Ferguson where he's gone out, said one thing, and it's not necessarily... I think Ole takes it a bit further. When Sir Alex would come out and he would be fuming about something, he would come out and your face told you, his face told you everything you knew about what he was genuinely thinking. But Sir Alex would come out with some utter batshit stuff. And it's almost like Klopp's read that, but Klopp takes it to another level. The grass was too dry. It was too windy. It's a Tuesday. We used to play on Wednesdays. Like, the balls are different. Like, Klopp's excuses are fucking phenomenal. But Sir Alex Ferguson would come out and do a lot of similar stuff. So he'd come out, let's say Roy Keane's done something stupid. He's cost us a game. He's got sent off again. United have lost a game that they shouldn't have. We're off track now. We're not going to win the league. Sir Alex Ferguson comes out, and where Ole has got this light sort of jokey nature, at least with the press, Sir Alex Ferguson, face like thunder, will come out and go, the referee got that wrong. The referee's a joke. Referee in this country is absolutely shambolic. They came and tricked him and cheated him and this, that, and the other. And he will come out and he will take this approach. Ole's nice approach doesn't belie the ruthless streak, which I know is in him. He's definitely more than meets the eye. I know he's more than meets the eye. He's quite ruthless with his team selections. When someone's not good enough, you are out until you either are good enough or something else changes. He's a lot more vocal and opinionated on the sideline. And you saw potentially how brutal he was with Jesse Lingard, who's barely played since that little falling out that they had at the Etihad. I think this is who Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is, not the guy that sits in front of the camera talking to the press after a game. That's not what's going on. That's not the true Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. When he's, he came out at the end of the season, he said he's not satisfied with United's general showing and performance, and I think that shows the winning mentality that the guy's got. He is a winner, and unfortunately he's not shown that yet in terms of delivering trophies for Manchester United, but I think overall we can say, yeah, he is currently doing the best of any of the managers post Sir Alex. I think David Moyes had the best team. I think after that you'd probably say Louis van Gaal, and then after that I'd say Mourinho, and then I'd say after that you're looking at Solskjaer. I think coming down through those, you've seen some serious players train out. You've got to remember, the team Mourinho had was a very, very good team. You're talking like, even the experience of Wayne Rooney alone is invaluable. The one Louis van Gaal had was a tragedy about how good it was, and it failed to deliver. David Moyes taking over the champions. Yes, there was some older players that maybe needed managing, and David Moyes didn't seem keen to manage those. Your RVP, your Rio, your Evras, players who weren't perhaps training squad level like they were required to under David Moyes, and perhaps that had a negative impact on how he managed those players. I think Jose Mourinho, given that team, probably does magnitudes better. Perhaps we even wins something in Europe with that sort of side, because that's what he likes. He likes those older players. I think Louis would probably do all right with the team that United are building now. He's very trusting of youngsters. Wasn't impressed with the standard of youngster coming through, from James Wilson to, Rothwell and Weir and Fosu Mensah and even Tuan Zabi and Marcus. Not quite perhaps on the level of like Cliver and Davids and Van der Sar and all the people that he managed to bring through at Ajax back in the day. Or even Javi that he brought through. I'm not sure if he brought Puyol through or not, but he's brought through some top players. I think Toni Kroos might have been one of the players that he brought through even at Bayern Munich. So it's honestly the worst squad. Now, Ole's getting a very good tune out of what is a worst squad, and this just highlights to me how much he now has to be backed and given the opportunity to be able to take United to that next level. If we bring in some top players, I believe in this manager to be able to deliver something. I think he's got the winning mentality. We've had some incredibly consistent runs. The fact that we didn't manage to drop a single loss away from home is nice. It might be bolstered a little bit by the fact that everyone was a little bit poorer at home, but it's still only us that have got that stat. So that's a positive. We went on some great runs. We've gone on a few great runs under Solskjaer, and this team has just run out of steam. So I think from an improvement point of view, he needs to understand squad management a tiny bit better. Is that because of a lack of options? Entirely plausible. Give him the resources and see if he's able to do it with a deeper squad that he actually trusts, because I think trust is an issue for him at the moment. But I think, do you know what? He's doing a decent enough job. And before I go, just wanted to say to you, the new Stretford Paddock Football Club home shirt, done with Puma, is now available to buy. It is on the Stretford Paddock FC website. I'll throw a link for it in the description, and I might even start thinking about ways that we can give away some to you guys if you guys come up with an idea, and we'll do it, and we'll give some away over the Euros. But if you want to support the channel, go check out what we're doing over on Stretford Paddock, or check out the shirts. The green and gold ones are now done. If you didn't buy one, well, you're shit out, unlucky. They are not going to be for sale anymore, but the home shirt is on sale this month, and next month we'll be putting the away shirt on sale and all the rest of that sort of stuff. If you still want to support the channel, though, check out the Patreon group. The link for that is in the description. There has been a little bit of transfer news dropped in there in the last few days. If you want to go and check that out and support the channel at the same time, then cheers for tuning in. I'll see you guys in the next one. Laters.